Hey there everyone, my name is Becky and this is Bria Makes Art, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about saving money in your art practice. I'm going to share with you some of the things that I highly recommend buying at places like the dollar store and secondhand stores, as well as some things that I would suggest that you avoid. So we're just going to get right into it, and the first thing that I recommend buying from the dollar store are these little palettes. These are great for use with gouache and watercolor and acrylics. They are usually get like 6 of them for $1, and they're exactly the same as what you buy at Michael's. And the Michael's sets are much more expensive. I think they're $1 or $2 for just like 3 of them instead of 6. So definitely, if you're looking for little plastic palettes, buy these at the dollar store. The next tip is if you are looking for glue, specifically things like this tacky glue, you can often find these tiny bottles at the dollar store, $1.25 for this little bottle. And this lasts a long time unless you're doing a lot of crafts where you're gluing things. I would recommend buying things like this from the dollar store. And I think I've seen tiny bottles of Mod Podge at the dollar store as well, so just kind of keep an eye out for that. The next thing that I both recommend and don't recommend, and I'll explain that in a moment, are things like this. This is a crafter square, and it is canvas on a piece of cardboard. I recommend buying these from the dollar store for practice purposes. I probably wouldn't do final pieces on this. I certainly wouldn't do anything that I would want to sell to somebody on this, but since they are $1.25 now, they are really good for buying to practice on, and you don't have to worry about wasting good materials. You can always throw a nice layer of gesso on here and make a pretty decent canvas to work on, and canvas is canvas, so I can't imagine this is a whole lot different than like a really expensive canvas, but I don't think it's not going to be terribly easy to hang up, and it will probably warp over time, so I wouldn't do really good quality artwork on here, but this is great for just kind of playing with and trying different things out. The next thing that I would highly recommend is things like placemats like this. I got a set of, I think there were 3 or 4 of these in a package for, again, $1.25 at the dollar store, and I use things like this to put down when I am doing messy things. So if I am painting, I will put this down. If I am paint pouring, I'm definitely going to put something like this down. If I'm doing resin, things like that, I will put it down. And if this gets ruined, it's only, you know, it's not even $1 because there was a pack of like 3 or 4 of them together. So things like this to protect your surface, absolutely 100% get at the dollar store. Next thing is this. This is a paintbrush organizer. It will come disassembled, so you'll see a couple of circles and then probably some legs in there. Super easy to assemble. The legs just kind of slot in, and it's really easy to see how it goes, and very sturdy. You can see that it doesn't twist, and you have to pull on it a bit to pull it apart, so really sturdy. I really like these, and you can see I've got a paintbrush in there right now, so it works really well for storing a bunch of paintbrushes. And again, dollar store, so $1.25 for this. I also like to buy little containers like this for storing random things in. This is for storing random things that I don't really have a good other place to store them. So I have a couple of these that I put around the room, and you can get them in a bunch of different colors. They are a little bit flimsy, so, you know, and you can't really stack things on top of them, but, you know, it's actually not a bad little storage container. You can find lots of different little storage containers at the dollar store. So definitely recommend buying things like that. Next, I got this metal pencil holder at the dollar store. It's really nice quality. It looks like a little trash can, and it was painted green already when I got it. Like I said, it's actually metal, and I would have paid a lot more for this at somewhere like Target or Michael's or something like that. So $1.25 for this, absolutely 100% worth it. So keep an eye out for things like that at dollar store as well. You can obviously buy some paper and things like that there. Typically you're not going to get really good quality sketchbooks, but if you want like a crappy sketchbook, you might be able to find something like that there. And those are good for just kind of playing with things, that sort of thing. Things that I wouldn't really recommend too much buying from a dollar store are things like paintbrushes. The paintbrushes that you can get at the dollar store are not very good. Typically the bristles are going to be kind of splayed out. They are just not going to hold the paint very well. They're not going to last very long, that sort of thing. The ferrule is sometimes loose, so you go to paint and it's wobbling all around. So I don't recommend those unless you are buying them for kids' crafts or to spread glue around. Yeah, definitely buy the cheapy things for that, but not for actually doing painting, because you're going to be very disappointed and your results are going to be less than ideal. The next thing that I don't really recommend buying from the dollar store is the acrylic paints. So you can buy acrylic paints from the dollar store, and they do work, but they're usually rather transparent. There are things that you can do to make an acrylic paint more opaque, like put cornstarch in it. I have seen that work, not with my own eyes, but I've seen it in videos. But I don't know what that does to the longevity of the paint, and whether that will yellow over time or flake off over time or anything like that. So just a warning that while it does make the paint more opaque when it goes on, it may have other unintended side effects later on. But if you are okay with a rather rather transparent paint, then yeah, go ahead and buy that paint from the dollar store. If you're just, painting something that you're going to put up on a shelf or something like that, and you don't mind putting multiple coats of paint on there, go for it. It works, but it's just much more transparent than you might want. Other things that I will buy from the dollar store, plates and bowls, things like that. Sometimes those are really useful in your art practice. And some random like silicone tools. Those are often great for if you're doing paint scraping or if you're doing resin pours. Resin doesn't really stick to silicone. So if you can buy like a silicone spatula, things like that, buy those at the dollar store, because if it does get ruined, you're not out a whole lot. But they are made out of silicone, just like the more expensive things that you can buy at like a Target or a Meijer or a home store. Buy the cheap ones for things that you're going to use in your art room, and you'll be happy that you did, and they work just as well. Things like seam rippers also you can buy at the dollar store instead of buying at the craft store. It's going to save you a lot of money. Yeah, I think, one last thing to buy at the dollar store. You can often buy squirt bottles at the dollar store. They're typically not dishwasher safe. I learned that one the hard way. But they do have pretty nice little squirt bottles, and they usually have them in different colors, and they work great. Just don't put them in the dishwasher. So if you're looking for a nice squirt bottle, look around at your dollar store. You'll probably be able to find one. I think that's about it. I haven't tried any of their stencils. They do have ornaments and things like that that you can paint, and those are probably just fine because they're just little pieces of wood. They might be a little thinner. Before I forget, there's one more thing that I sometimes buy at a dollar store or a secondhand store, and that is picture frames. So picture frames can be kind of expensive when you buy them at a regular store, but you can usually get some reasonable picture frames at a dollar store and better ones at a secondhand store for a lot less money. Sometimes you got to put a little bit of elbow grease into them to make them what you want. I've definitely taken old picture frames, wooden picture frames, and just kind of did a light sanding on them and then spray painted them, and they look great. So just keep that in mind, that that's totally a thing that you can do. It's not a lot of effort, and you're going to save yourself some money there. One thing to kind of watch, though, when you are buying picture frames in the dollar store is really kind of look at it to see what kind of quality you're getting, because sometimes you are going to get what you paid for, and you're going to buy a picture frame and it's going to fall apart on you. So just kind of keep an eye on that. I would recommend going to secondhand stores for picture frames more than the dollar store, but you definitely can find some cute little frames at the dollar store as well that are reasonable quality. I think that's about it. I hope that these tips help you save some money in your art practice, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.